What's up, guys? Welcome back to FishOfHex. This is Travis here. In today's video, I'm going to be working on the 30-gallon Chaeto Reactor Triton test build. And yes, I know there are two different builds going on at the same time on this channel, but that's okay because we'll bounce back and forth between this and a 300-gallon over the next couple months. Now, in this video, we're going to be adding my two clownfish that I had in quarantine for about a month, as well as adding coral to the system from the frag tank. So let's go ahead and go through that whole process. I'll show you guys what it looked like at day 6 when all this took place, and then I'll show you what it looks like today towards the end of the video. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So a little bit of background on those clownfish while I'm putting some frags here in the bucket. Now, I went ahead and picked those clownfish up from Petco a couple years ago. They were brought in from somebody and put up for adoption. Now, they are a mated pair. I was told that they had babies several times, but I've yet to have it happen for me. I really think it's because they've been in all the systems with all those aggressive tangs so far, and they just haven't been able to actually spawn without having, you know, a tang combined be a dick or something. But either way, guys, I went ahead and I put them in that 30-gallon hoping that they would eventually maybe spawn. And it's good that they're by themselves. They can kind of do their own thing. They even host sometimes, not all the time. They go into that plate coral, piss it off a little bit, and then come out. Unfortunately, the plate coral doesn't stay kind of, I would say, erect. Is that the word I'm looking for? It doesn't stay full long enough for them to kind of be in there and enjoy it like an anemone. It kind of just closes up like a coral would if it got you know, disturbed. So but they are pretty cool fish. I really love this clown pair, and I've had them for a while, and I'm really hoping that they will go ahead and spawn in this new tank. All right, with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to the coral that I'm selecting for this system. Now, all these frags are coming out of my frag tank. They were pretty much all from my 125-gallon, all these frags, and it's pretty cool that I can actually bring them over to this new system and also the 300, so the 125 kind of lives on through these other two tanks. And I did mention when I set this system up that I was only going to put in acropora, but after adding all these acros, a couple days later, I decided I was going to go ahead and add a few zoas, some mushrooms, gorgonians, as well as goniopora and some acants, just to kind of really fill it up and put a lot of different colors in there. And it looks really good. But before you guys actually see that, I want to go through the whole process of kind of what I do, even with my own frags for my own system. Now, you guys are probably familiar with my channel, the fact that I sell coral on my website, so there's no reason to go into all that. But the reason why I say that is I also do import coral from other companies outside the United States, and it all comes into this one frag system. Now, I do, of course, dip everything in Coral RX as well as Bear, and I also quarantine my acropora, mushrooms, and zoas, but nothing is 100%. You never know what you could possibly be missing, and there's no guarantees in this hobby. So with that being said, my frag system, I treat it as if it was never my tank. I do take care of it, of course, as if it's mine, but when it comes to taking coral out of it, I dip every single thing. I inspect everything to the T, and if there's anything that's out of the ordinary, doesn't look right, I don't use it, or I dip it again, or I treat the entire system. That's just kind of how it is at this point. And with that being said, I went ahead and pulled out as much acropora as I felt that I needed at this time, and I wouldn't really throw the system off, as well as pulling out some Monty caps and some other SPS and some chalices. So let's go ahead and move over to the saw. We'll go ahead and cut the plugs off. We'll do some dipping, and then we'll get them in the tank. All right, so the first thing we're going to do here is go ahead and put some water in my saw just to make sure the blade stays cool. And I'm going to go through and cut off all the plugs that I can for the SPS. Now, there are definitely some acropora that have encrusted over the plug or kind of going down onto the shaft. So I'm going to go ahead and cut as much of the plug off as I can without causing any damage, or at least minimal damage to the coral. Now, your goal with cutting these frag plugs off is to give a smooth, flat surface, which will make it really easy to attach to a rock structure via super glue or epoxy. Now, I will be using super glue on this. I don't really like the look of epoxy, especially when I don't really need it for these small frags. Now, basically, I am going to go ahead and fast forward all this cutting because I do have a little bit of OCD, and it's actually a lot of OCD when it comes to my own projects and my own tanks. So we're going to go ahead and fast forward it and move over to the dipping process and get the stuff in the tank. Now, when it comes to dipping my coral, I like to use these 2-gallon buckets I picked up from Home Depot, and sadly, I haven't been able to find them. You guys have been asking me about these buckets, and I picked them up at Christmas time last year, and they're only a couple bucks, so maybe they'll come back around this year because I haven't seen them since then. Either way, I go ahead and I fill them up about halfway, give me about a gallon of water, and then I'll go ahead and I will dip with my Coral RX and my Bear. Now, do note that I do not dose both of these at the same time. I will go ahead and do my Coral RX first, which we missed because you guys already know about about that, and I'll go ahead and use a second bucket, which you guys see here, and I'll dose my bear then. Now, I do like to use 150 milliliters of bear per 1 gallon of water, and I'll use this graduated cylinder here to measure it out, or at least get an approximate amount, and then go ahead and put them in there, stir them around with rubber gloves or a turkey baster. I don't put my bare hands on any of this stuff. I know some of you guys do, but I don't mess with that crap. And I go ahead and let them sit for about 15 or 20 minutes, blow them with a turkey baster. That sounded dirty as hell. Clean them with a turkey baster, brush them off with a toothbrush, and then I'll go ahead and rinse them with salt water from the tank that I'm putting them in, and then go ahead and put them in that system. All right, one thing I do want to mention about rinsing this coral, you want to make sure you do it several times. Bear is no joke. It's a pesticide killer. If you don't get all this stuff off, there's a good chance you're going to cause issues with the system if it's a small system and you have invertebrates in it. So take my word for it. Go ahead and rinse several times, 2 or 3 times with fresh salt water from that system, or make a batch of salt if you don't have enough water in that system because it's small. Just make sure you get all the bear off before putting it in the tank, all right? And speaking of that, let's go ahead and move over to the 30 gallon now and put all these frags in. All right, let's go ahead and get into this coral scape. Now, I do have a general idea of what I want to do, and I intentionally built a ledge here on the right-hand side because I want my Monty caps there. I'm going to go ahead and put 2 greens, a red, and a purple, kind of like the 125, and they will grow together, and I intend them to grow out to the right-hand side over the sand bed. That way, they do not shade out anything underneath them. What they're going to shade maybe will be an cant frag here or there, or that plate coral. Either way, they're not going to be killing any SPS like they did in my old system. And yes, you guys will definitely notice that I'm putting a lot of acropora close together. Some people don't like that, but I like the look of it, and I do understand that they will grow and they will start touching each other, causing damage. But my excuse for doing that is I like to have the tank full early. You can call me whatever you want for that, but I like the way it looks when it's full. And if I have to frag an acropora up a little bit as it grows so it prevents it from causing damage to another one, that's totally fine, because it's just $20 bills growing all day. I could simply frag it out, put it in my frag tank, and sell it on the website, and I'm okay with that. So yes, guys, I kind of decided that I'm going to put all the acropora, or the higher light acropora, up towards the top where we're at that 350, 370 range, and then put the montipora in the middle, as well as some digitata, the red and the green, as well as the purple or pink setosa, whatever it is, right there to the left-hand side. And then towards the bottom, we're going to put the bird's nest, as well as the Panopy bird's nest, some encrusting SPS, as well as some media shower and some purple stylo. I'm going to go ahead and put the chalice on the bottom there, as well as an encrusting SPS to the upper left-hand side. So hopefully everything will grow together and look really nice. Now, over the next few days, I went ahead and added a bunch of zoas, gorgonians, all the corals I mentioned earlier in the video, and you guys will see that here in a second. Now, I do want to mention, I went ahead and added all these acropora at day 6 for this tank. It was already stable. I did add that Pucani, which was curing for 12.5 weeks, and of course the new sand, and everything was rock solid early on. So I figured once I had my lights dialed in with that new AI Prime, I'd go ahead and put the acropora in. So that was day 6. Let's go ahead and move over to day 30, and I'll show you guys what the system looks like. All right, well, here is day 30, and as you guys can see, it looks a lot different than it did on day 6, and I'm really happy with the progress so far. Now, I've only been running the Triton method for about a week now, and I've only done 1 water change on this system, and that was before I started the Triton method to get my levels back down to natural seawater, then starting that whole dosing. I will do a whole video on setting that up for this system, so stay tuned for that. Now, I've also added a skimmer, a marine pier, as well as I set up a little bit of a filter in the back to help get some of the detritus out of the water column, and the MP10. So there's a lot of stuff that I've added to the system that you guys will see here in future videos, and of course we'll do some updates on the Chaeto Reactor and all that kind of stuff. Now, I do feed this tank every other day. There are some other chemicals that I add on the KZ side of things that I've been using on all my systems, and you guys will see all that in later videos. But overall, guys, this system's doing very good. I have coralline algae growth after only 27 days or so on the back wall, and that's a good thing. I did intentionally add a snail that had coralline on its back, and that is kind of the whole purpose, to help seed this tank. But overall, guys, I really love this tank, and it kind of fills my need to have a reef tank while we're still working on the 300, because of course we're raising money for the lighting on that, and I won't be adding any of these acropora and stuff until I really get the radions and all that over that tank. But either way, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about this system, please let me know. If you want to support this channel, check out my Patreon page, and or you can buy coral from my website. I will be getting more coral in starting next month or so, or in the beginning of the year. It's that time of year, guys. I really don't have a lot of stuff that I can bring in, because pretty much all my money's going towards family gifts and all that. It's really not a good time of year to be spending all that money on the hobby. But either way, guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time. Peace.